Hello everyone, and you're very welcome to our channel NarcCon. Today's podcast is going to be The Art of War with a Narcissist in Victoria Surgimus. And that means in victory we rise. So before I get into the podcast, I know I'll get comments saying, would you just get on with it? Because a lot of people just want the information. But I just wanted to share a little bit of our lives with you, and just to say that every once a week we go down for a sunrise swim, which happens to be 5:40 a.m. these mornings in Ireland. So we were sitting there. It happened to rain quite unusually in Ireland, but no, we have been having great weather. And we were sitting in our chairs. My friend had her umbrella up and we were there for about an hour and a half. But when we arrived and we were sitting there, someone came up to us and said, she was a lovely person, and she said, oh, you shouldn't be sitting there, you should go in. And she meant it in a really nice way. She was having a swim herself. But I just thought, no, he shouldn't. No, he shouldn't. You do whatever you want to do and do whatever is extraordinary for you or whatever lights you up. And that's very important post-narcissistic abuse. So I just wanted to share that little bit of information with you because I feel we're a community here, and whereas it's really important to learn about what we've been through to help us go forward, it's also nice to have some communication. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of good people out there, and this is who this podcast is for. In Victoria Surgimus, in victory we rise. This is all about the art of war with a narcissist and what it teaches us and how to actually defeat a narcissist and rise in victory over the narcissist. Because there's a big perception that narcissists go on to win because they leave their targets so devastated initially. I would argue now that that is not going to be the case, that we have this information out there and we have belief in the goodness of humanity. We need to keep that light alive. That is a very strong reason for this podcast, a strong message that I feel compelled to get out there. I have met a lot of good people that would give you rising, wonderful belief in the good of humanity and why it's so important to remain in that belief. Because the narcissist does not want you to believe in humanity. The narcissist wants to turn you into an empty vessel full of hate and rage and darkness in the existence in which they actually exist, although they could give a very good impression and PR job that their lives are wonderful. That is not the case, because if their lives were so wonderful, they would not need to destroy the lives of other people through the darkness that comes out of them. The will to steal and destroy, person that's very happy and successful does not need to do that. So their actions belie the fake persona or the fake mask of having a great time that's out there. So I would say to you, don't believe it. Don't believe it. That's what's behind that mask. So I'm going to go through this in a strategic manner to unfold how to be victorious in Surgimus. I had to look that up in Latin. I just thought, in victory we do rise, in victory we rise, and we continue to rise. The narcissist, when they come in to harvest somebody's energy and assets, literally become their enemy by weaponizing the love they show to that person. And all of this strategy is outlined in the book I've written, Weaponized Love, which is available on Amazon. I have to get that little information bit out there to you because some people don't know about it as yet. So this is based on what's in the book, the information that's in the book. The narcissist has a subconscious, mostly, strategy and agenda that they play out. And this is the way they go forward. I'm going to get into this now. Some of them have a conscious strategy. Some of them will actually be dark enough to admit to themselves that they want what that person has, and they're going to strategize in relation to getting it. The narcissist effectively needs intel in order to carry out a strategic and successful campaign in their agenda to take from you that which is yours, and in order to give you the illusion of love so that you will put out for them, offer them services, offer them your energy and your time to enhance their life and their life going forward. Once they pillage and plunder your village, they're going on to another village to pillage and plunder that and take the spoils of war as they see it. So they all follow the same strategy, which is wonderful, because once you know the strategy, you can predict your defense and attack mechanisms against them. So although their strategy is cloaked in love so that you can't see initially that they're your enemy, once you do see their strategy, it is so simply predictable that it's a big advantage for you and I going forward. The narcissists, I'm going to get into what their weaponry is, because once you understand, you know what they want from you already. We've just discussed that. How do they get it? What is their weaponry? Their main points of entry into your village, their main weaponry. Because once you shut their weaponry down and know how to deflect it, or so that the weaponry, the bullets don't get through your shield, then you're on to a big kind of impasse with the narcissist. They're not making forward steps into taking what they want from you. Even if they've done, you think, oh, well, it's too late now, Paula, they've already gotten what they want. You can still defeat the narcissist. So we'll get to that in the end. This particular point is if you're in a battle with one currently, or you want to set yourself up so that you're fortified against a narcissistic invasion in the future. The narcissist, and by the way, I haven't read The Art of War. It's on my to-do list, but I do believe it's a fantastic book. I'd certainly recommend anyone go read it if you're dealing with a narcissist, because it is a war you are in. The reason I'm coming up with these strategies is because I've been in a war with a narcissist, and I really, really get their thought process at this stage. So this is devised by me from my experience with narcissists and what works and what doesn't work. The narcissist, their greatest weapon is like, supposing we were, say, 200 years hence and we could cloak ourselves. You know, you see that in some sci-fi movies where the enemy is cloaked, you can't see them. Well, this particular enemy is cloaked in human form as a human being. So the art of illusion is the narcissist's greatest weaponry. So we have 50%, decimated that already, because now we know how they operate. And once you know how your enemy operates, you have the intel to destroy them or to evade them or to rise above them. Their weaponry is, I have 3 things down here as their main weapons against you, me, humanity. Your belief system. Your belief system, what you think about yourself, how firm is that? How much can they change your belief system? Does your belief system hold negative beliefs about yourself that were groomed into you from your past, I personally don't believe in codependency. I believe in the narcissist of the family of origin, or other narcissists you may have met in life, or your life experience in general may have groomed you to have shaky self-belief, or you may have been vulnerable when the narcissist came along, having had a strong self-belief prior to this. And the narcissist was able to enter your village on your belief system. So they conned you and they got in somewhere and they told you you weren't all that, and you kind of think, I'm a fair person, I need to look at myself, I need to do some introspection. They utilized your fairness, open-mindedness, and prior experience, your belief system. If you have a solid belief system in that you have a very balanced idea of who you are and who you are not, the narcissist cannot maneuver through that hole in the wall. They may be able to squiggle in a little bit, but you can push that head right back out and block the wall up. So that's a main entry point and a main way they use the art of illusion into conning you into thinking you're a person you are not, and causing immense suffering because of the fact that you believe what they try to brainwash you to believe. The next thing is information provided by language to the narcissist. Answering the narcissist questions, or even if you're in a negotiating stance with the narcissist, even if you're, say, divorcing them or trying to sell property, or you're some way entangled with a narcissist and the process is not going their way, they'll do the friendly, yeah, let's meet up and sort this out. We don't need those lawyers and all that kind of old crap. We'll do this as, we've always got on. We can sort this out ourselves. That's a narcissist who's not winning. So be very aware and wary of them coming up to your drawbridge and say, put the drawbridge down. We'll go and have a cup of coffee. It'll be fine. Once they get in and get the information, they will blast you out of it. So you be very, very careful at the narcissist's friendly approach in negotiations that are not going their way. They may pretend they're going their way, but when they do that, be very, very aware. That's another cloaked enemy infiltrating your village. The main weaponry that narcissists have is emotional reaction. And if I can explain this succinctly enough or obviously enough, your emotional reaction is literally what the narcissist wins the war with. It's like, for instance, you put the wrong fuse in a plug and you plug the plug into the wall and none of the electricity, none of the equipment works. If you give the narcissist the wrong fuse or don't give them the fuse at all, they cannot operate because they don't know where they're going. It's like without an emotional reaction, it's like they have radar. Let's put it like this: radar for emotional reaction. So they have X-ray vision, but they can't see normally. And they can't see anything without an emotional reaction. So you give an emotional reaction and they know exactly what direction to go in. Their radar tells them this way. But without that, they're lost. They're only working on their basic program of the language information that was provided to them or by flying monkeys. And your initial assessment in your belief system. So literally, when a narcissist is getting to know you, they go through all the criteria that they need. An emotional reaction fills in all of the blanks in the basic structure of who you are. So when they come to get to know you, they literally have an imprint. They have a photograph and they have a file on you. And that file doesn't change, which is another flaw in their weaponry. That doesn't change. So you have a lot of maneuverability around that image because that's an advantage for you to know that. The narcissist has a picture of you that they're going off. If you're not giving emotional reactions, then they can't read any progression that you've made or any changes to the file that's infiltrated in their brain as to how to strategize against you. I hope this is making sense. It makes perfect sense if you've actually been in that situation with this, in this type of war with this particular enemy. So, Paula, you say, well, how do we defend an attack against this particular art form? The first line of defense, I would say to you, is consolidate your belief system. Any entrance doors you have, lock them, padlock them, close them, stand firm in your belief system. Whatever the narcissist has groomed you into believing, throw that out of your brain, exercise that out of your brain, re-establish who you are, re-establish all your PowerPoints. Don't take any of that crap that they've thrown at you in relation to you being very flawed, horrible person, all of the projection that they've put onto you. Stand your ground. In Victoria Surgimus, in victory we rise. The next way to defend and attack the narcissistic invasion is to either, particularly in negotiation stages, or particularly if there's a smear campaign going on about you, or if you're trying to exit from a narcissistic relationship, no information. It seems obvious, but the narcissist is very good at inveigling information out of either you or your support structure, your army, your family, your friends, social media, your notice board in your village. They can even pick it up spiritually. So be very closed to the dark energy. Put a shield around you spiritually in relation to what you think. Think only positively. Think of succeeding. Don't, when you get a fear about the narcissist, that is their input into you as to them being superior and them always knowing, what you're up to and what you're doing, because they were literally spying on you even when they were with you. And you would think, how do they know these things? How do they know that I did that? They're all the time. I mean, you're their food source. They're not going to be leaving that lying around, letting you go off and do whatever you want to do without knowing where you are, what you're doing, what you're thinking. Oh, that's control. That's called control. So this is an interesting one now. For those of us that want to get a little bit more sophisticated in our, is it subterfuge or their, camouflage of what we're doing, or sending little narcissist off on the wrong direction. Go down there now. There's, it's much more interesting down there. So what you're going to say to the what you're going to put out there is either no information or false information. So if you have one of the narcissist flying monkeys coming up, say, how are you doing, Paula? It's lovely to see you. Are you okay? And how's it going, in the negotiation? Whatever you want to go back to the narcissist, you send that back and send them off on the wrong path. That is one way of actually defending and attacking at the same time. If you know what you're dealing with, use that intel, because the narcissist doesn't know you know. Or okay, here now. This is one that is so important, in my opinion. It's so important. A lot of people at the beginning of the relationship, or particularly if it's an intimate relationship, will maybe have come from a bad experience or their past relationships, and decided that one thing is really, really important to them. It's a deal breaker, and they'll say to the narcissist, I can put up with a lot, I'm great at compromise and negotiation, but there's one non-negotiable that's so important to me, that this has happened to me before. The person just stayed out for a whole weekend and didn't tell me where they were, and that kills me. Just so long as I know I've no problem with you doing whatever you want, but just for my sense of security and it's the way I'm made, that is so important to me. That's exactly what the narcissist will do when you're in the devaluation stage. Exactly what you've identified as your breaking point, as your vulnerability, as your trigger. You have told the narcissist, my fort is really fortified. Like, I'm a really sound person. I have had a lot of life experience. But there is one window that the catch is broken on. And if you got in there, the whole of the fort would be blown up in one go. So we give this information. We hand the enemy our vulnerability. We hand the enemy a roadmap for how to destroy our village. And by God, will they use it when they need to. People are flummoxed by the fact of all the things the narcissist could do to me. They did the very thing I asked them not to do. Well, yes, they will. That's juicy information for them. Awful as it is. This is an enemy you are dealing with. So be cognizant of that. In Victoria Surgimus, I had to look at that word again. Surgimus, I think it's like we surge, we rise. The Latin for we rise. Okay. So, no emotional reaction is, I believe, the mainstay of defeating a narcissist, because the bullets cannot penetrate, because they don't know where to fire the bullets, and they don't know which type of bullets to use against you. So we have deflected and denied and sent the narcissist down false alleyways in our battle against them when we are actually in contact, or even during the smear campaign. We can give false information or no information, whichever we choose to do. Now I'm going to say to you in relation to how do we rise? How do we rise in victory against a narcissist? You have risen to a certain extent by the tactics we have aforementioned. But if you want to take the war then to them, there are two ways in which to do this incredibly successfully. The first way I have down here is you have the advantage of knowing who they are, and they don't know that you know who they are. That is your cannon to win the war and save your village. In victory we rise. When the narcissist met you, I'll explain this now. When the narcissist met you, they knew who you were, but you didn't know who they were. Now we're turning the tables. Now you know who they are, but they don't know who you have become, and they don't know that you know who they are. So now you're in the position that you can use these tactics. You can withdraw for a certain period of time to regroup and heal. You have bolted down as much of your village as you can against the narcissist. You're going to hold up. You're going to heal. You're going to have mastery over your emotions. This discipline will serve you for life. This is the gift that you will get out of your awful experience with a narcissist, should you choose it. A lot of people, not a lot of people, some people don't make it. Some people choose to remain in a state of turmoil because they actually don't know their way out. If you strategize and use what you've been given and turn it into something that you can use going forward in life without being turned bitter, without being turned into the narcissistic darkness, if you can believe in yourself, fortify your self-belief, emotionally discipline yourself to deal with this darkness that you face, then strategize, if you still wish to, at a further point down the road. You can come in against the narcissist using their weaknesses against them. And generally, narcissists will have done wrong to other people. Generally, they will have financially abused people. They will have turned people into the law that shouldn't be turned into the law. There's a lot of things. They can be fraudsters. They can be criminals. They often share information stupidly with people they're in relationships with, to big themselves up and to make people feel afraid of the narcissist. I wouldn't do that to you, darling, but I did it to everybody else. Oh, yeah? You can use this information from a cloaked position so they don't know who it is against them. The second way you can attack the narcissist successfully is to become a strong warrior, taking all the experience, all the emotional discipline you've learned in this fight for your life against this heinous individual who has targeted you in a cloaked manner, using deception and illusion as their main weaponry. You can go out into the world and you can spread the news. You can become the better version of yourself. You can stop just sauntering through life and, reacting to situations that occur in your life, thinking that that's what people do. You can take a grip of your life and you can direct it in a way that you may not have directed it before. You can find your purpose. You can be good to other people without getting taken advantage of, because you know the tells now in relation to narcissistic energy. And by being a good person, for want of a better term, you can inspire other people to believe in humanity and to believe in goodness. And that is the exact opposite of the narcissistic campaign to disillusion everybody in the world so that everybody is destroying each other, fighting each other. And there is no beauty, no goodness, no kindness, no excitement, no happiness, nothing left other than a destroyed vista. Sometimes, even to smile at someone in a day can be so important to that person who's maybe had a really hard time. You don't know what a little thing you do for someone else, or someone sees you doing a kind thing for no gain or return. That can sow the seed of hope and light in a person to continue to believe in humanity, basically. So I don't hate narcissists. I don't hate them anymore, but I just don't want them or their influence in my life. That's the way I'll put it to you, because it's destructive. So if you have a narcissist in your family, I think managing them is the best, and that takes emotional discipline, emotional mastery, which is what I'd like to speak about again soon, because this is the defense and the way to attack the narcissistic agenda. So one, you come out of this a stronger and better version of humanity That's the actual win. You know, people will say, "Oh, but they took all my money." Well, that's awful. That's devastating. But I promise you, if you start to rebuild, you will end up with more money. If you focus your focus on the fact that you're not a loser, you're a winner, that you're going to gain out of this situation far more than you've lost. That's winning against a narcissist. And there are other ways, as I said, in the first line of attack against the narcissist. Once you have no emotional reaction, once you're buoyed up and healed, you can go in at a narcissist strategically, because you have the advantage in that they don't know you know who they are. In Victoria Surgimus, in victory we rise. Bye for now.